아, 그거래도 수요다. 그렇지. This my books. Oh, this are. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Can you hear me? Anyone can let me know.
Khenpo, I hear you.
Good. Thank you. Okay, so good evening, everyone. So we are beginning from today. So I think before that, I would like to invite Khenpo to on the throne. Now we cannot see Khenpo. I'm just assuming Khenpo was already on throne. And then beside that, so today, starting from today is actually just a public talk, as normally that we just during the public talk we don't really do in our traditional way. We are just doing in a very common way. So there will not going to be any starting prayers and at the end conclusion, but absolutely that Dharma talk, it's as you are listener, you know, so you make a generated bodhicitta if you like as your choice, and dedication at the end also as your choice. But from tomorrow, definitely we will going to do as a traditional way. At the beginning, start with the Manjushri prayers, which is the actual teaching. We start from tomorrow, Heart Sutra, for 5 sessions, starting from tomorrow. That Saturday, Sunday, and then next Friday, Saturday, Sunday, that next weekend. So we will finish all this, our teachings within 5 sessions. So during those 5 sessions, we will follow as traditional. Beginning, we opening with the prayers and generating bodhicitta, and then also at the end, conclusion, dedication, and making aspirations as normally we do. And so before that, today I would like to introduce, I have a little announce or the introduce to all of you. Actually, I think it's not really necessary that I have to introduce who is Khenpo. Everybody know, I hope, but still it is just our part of the program. So I'll just do a little brief introduce of our Khenpo. Our Khenpo Sonam Nyima was kind of like a graduate, and it is he's kind of like considering as a great scholar among the Namdoling Khenpo and great teacher as well. So his way of technique or the ideas of teaching or guiding Buddha Dharmas to others is considering excellent. So therefore, I will just introduce a very brief that who is Khenpo. He was actually born in Tibet and then later visited to India, Namdoling Monastery, that our late Holiness established monastery, as I think most of you know, hopefully. And he was graduated from there and well studied and well scheduled, educated, very scholar Khenpo. So that's what very brief introduction of Khenpo Sonam Nyima. And then also I would like to let everybody know that recently still he is not set up yet. He is still setting up. But I would happy to announce everybody that he's establishing a new Dharma Center in Vancouver. So right now, this all public talk and this Heart Sutra teaching was teaching us from Vancouver. So that the website, as you can see, that we are sharing on the screen, this is Bayou Meditation Center, Vancouver, that established by our Khenpo Sonam Nyima. So you can see that, this website from our chat if you like to visit, or if you like to support, that he is just doing very hard work to establish the new Buddha Dharma Center to flourish the Buddha Dharma and share his wisdom and his own knowledge about whatever he gained so far. And as I told you earlier, that he was considering as one of the great excellent Khenpo of Namdolling Monastery. So definitely your support will going to be kind of like a very beneficial. So therefore, if you like to visit the website, you can get it. And also if you like to support, you can get all the information in their website that contact us, as you can see, contact. And once you go there, the phone number, email, information that whatever needed in order you to get there, you will get everything from there. So please take it from there, feel free. And that's the one new announcement that today I'm very happy to let everybody know about this new thing happening in this 2021. We are still in a pandemic crisis, but that our Khenpo is, not discouraging by the pandemic. So neglecting even the hardshipness or the crisis of pandemic, he is trying hard to establish the center to flourish the Buddha Dharma. So please welcome to his new center in Vancouver. So that's all I have announced today. And then please now, can you share our Khenpo screen, Anna? Hopefully Khenpo is already in throne, ready to talk. Oh yeah? Also, he didn't start his video yet, so we may need to wait a little bit. Yeah.
Talk it away.
Oh, long to come.
Oh, yeah. The number is Tomala, ni Dahidelis, Shuayin, the name, I think also. Food and Shane, Stan, something in the Madonna, Church about living number of kind, some other day, choking the one of the Sarkasa, as a memorial that in the large wall and Chabana with that kind of the rest. And it's summer. Manga to Kunyo, the Remani, Samala, and some of the shoes.
Good evening and Tashitele to everybody. And since this session is just a public talk, we won't be doing prayers at the beginning and the others that we generally do it before particular teachings of a Buddhist teaching. But since this is a general public talk, we won't have any kind of those introduction or the prayers at the beginning. We will just have a general conversation, sort of a discussion, you know.
That drinking at what I hear about it. Carriga Versana. And I told me, no, la, ni Kangadabo, the chair about that. Tani, Kangatevala, then the social gets sent the parts of what and Yamshuman about the Yundi Capsula. And the tele donate and tele Natoke. Pa, George to Biala. And the Talamba about Tapir career, so the need about the Tolan here is.
So the topic that we're going to discuss today is when in our life, when we face some kind of difficult situations, you know, how to overcome that kind of difficult situation, how not to worry or have any kind of anxieties about that situation, just to overcome those things, transcend it.
Tatihia Chebalangazo Transcendable Kashik Toling about Shunanda Transons.
So I was thinking about talking this into a few subtopics.
Nishitang Azoke Misen Nonola, and me Shen Enjoyinanda, Shen Menjoyinanda, Ane Banjo Enjoyinanda, Banjo Menjoyinanda, Zulon so Yanginada, Menginanda, me candida Vagina, Kana Mopoji la Donace in the Michete at the Chahuris.
No matter who we are, whether we are educated or not, whether we are rich or not, or whether we are handsome or beautiful or not, everybody has to face some kind of difficulties in their life.
So Miss Swedavagina, the Nick Kanga Tibik in Yanyo Yedavagres.
So since the difficulties comes to, everybody has to face that kind of difficulties, we all have some kind of experience, about that kind of difficult situation.
And I got so Sama and never Nangi Tanda the Mandum Kanga Nolan Kanga Mompoji so that don't to change about the easy barres.
And some of you might be right now at this very point, maybe some kind of facing difficulties, like not going everything as per your wish.
That Niki Kanga Tetote, Ane Natsoke Yam to Shadeata, and the Tipa Mapazone, and the Tilly Galwiak Tapite. 아니 동안에 가르치고 그랬어요. 당하롱 텐서도 카시지 지나 발라. 아니 파 예스 말이다.
So I would tell some kind of suggestions of my own opinion about how to overcome these situations, these difficult situations when we are faced with it.
ngazoke nisambala chena tanda yi dawaji samna tongwa ina te ani khandik thoni te yi none soso khandeda nyamne da wasek marwe lane tawi tarwa ina ya ani kanga chenra khandik theba ina ya tile thoya ke ani langwa ji yode waji ani chogudus.
I feel that we have kind of a four ways to overcome it. No matter which of these fours you choose, I think that we will be able to overcome, no matter how big difficulties we face.
Tanda yite kharasna chikde ani kanga chenra khandik theba ina ya ngazo pecha ga ba ina sozo ke pama pinja thebi ke thongwa ke thone kanga theba ina ya da ani sozo ke chik legal la cheni kanga theba ina enda ani soso ke chi panjor la cheni kanga theba ina enda soso ke name la cheni kanga theba ina enda ani tene ke kanga te to las.
So first, the kind of difficulties, or when you face losing your own family members, your own friends and relatives, or losing your job, or losing your money, wealth, when any of these difficulties, when you face them,
na yin na cha da tene kharnda ba ji ba ina enda kanji choron la sowa kanga tenge ke tene su chi khare ba inas.
And also when you have some kind of a diseases and a sickness, when you have that kind of, no matter what that is, but as long as some kind of problems there, they makes you worry about it, they makes you, no matter what that is.
Tatila tanse tambo tila ngak samchu chawa china ane ngoyo ne chu kharere ndu tane ane kanga tin thewa ke ngoyo te kharere ndu kanga te le tharthuya tharju yowa chire ndu tharju mewa chire ndu te samotanga te nenga chires tanse tambo tila.
The first point I feel is to investigate the the real problem of that you're facing, whether that is something that you can overcome it or not. So you have to investigate whether that can be changeable, that situation is, can be changeable or not.
Pena tene pama twanda botan sozo ke zatan twanda botende ina
Connected to Sonam's iPad.
tatila ane zopche toya mebares.
For example, if you lose your loved ones, so, for example, your parents expired or your spouses, if they die, that kind of situation, you cannot change that kind of situation.
Ane techidi kasule tansen titeres tansen nibatela ane ngazo kanga khande daboje theba ina ya judan chen pochi manchu pala ngazo kindrebde yung thabya mare techidi kasule len jondela yechowi ke thone ane kanga te done cheton tik yabachi sanuton gareshas.
The second point that we have to ponder about is, when we face any kind of situation that has to come into being due to the different causes and conditions. So we have to have faith in the law of karma, the law of causality.
Ane tanda somba tela ane ngazo kanga khande chi da ji kanga khande chi theba ina ya ane ti kenya kanga de thebi kapsola ane mita pala yi chebi ki thone ane sosola hama deshi yobi ki nekap te njudo ne kanga tin the yung de kapsola ane njua te ngane zone ane kochin no ke jete ina no chi ke senjen tho jabo lama khande da wech to bon panjor khande da wech na ya soman jui rangi yimba chi la san ta ya te tanda ya kanga done che dang chi re shas.
And the third way of facing these kind of difficulties is to know about the impermanence of everything, to have the faith in impermanence. Whether whatever we have, the happiness and anything that we have, is subject to change. So we have to accept that change, whether that be outer circumstances or inner circumstances. In the outer worlds, the changeable means the changing of outer worlds or the changing of inner beings, that the living beings, in that world, all are subject to change, since we are all subject to impermanence. So accepting that impermanence is the third point.
Ani tanda yibatila ani tene ngazo ke kanga chi thebi ki nekap sola ani sanu tanya de ani soso danjin ta nganjin ani soso karse gore ta chi danji shu chambo ta nganji shu chambo ron chen ji shu chambo de ani ma te churu ta ne ani mi rale yenda la sanu man tongwa ke ani karse go ron li yen ji ba ke sanu ta tawai na ane yo kanga chambo de thedi kapsole ni soso tang ngale karichin tene da yui na ngale tene tsani yui ya meba da chire samba da tene mai ba yenda la ani phasa no man tong to sai na ne yo kanga de done che dong chire shas.
And the fourth way of facing these difficulties is to lessen our own ego, our own self-grasping, and think about others as well, or think about others before self. So in that way, you won't be too much, into the difficulties, thinking of why me, why me, these all kinds of bad things coming on me. That kind of a feeling will lessen when you think about others and lessen your own ego.
Da tede ke tanchen yibo karu ki thone ani kanga te done che thwa de ngacho ke ngarang ke ngane samno to na yiche chigiyos.
So I feel and I believe that within these four points, we can able to overcome or lessen any kind of difficulties and worries that we might have.
Te chidi ka sureta ngacho samno to ya ke tsawi ke samno ta ya ke point da se ke mare dom da bote yi tola da ngak shya do tene chagins.
So I'm going to talk about these four main points.
Tatino ni tampo ngacho ngoyo ni chole yi chowi tone kanga de done che don te khanis ne ane ta nongche non la de che jagu ya sena ane jase chembo shiwala ke shunju nonglo la ka te choso ya na ni tela miga dikiyos ka te choso mena ne tela mega che defense sun yores.
So the first point is to facing about the reality of the things they are. So in the Buddhist teachings, especially by the great Shantideva in the Bodhisattva's way of life, he said that if it's something that can be modified, something that can be changed, why worry about it? If something that cannot be changed, then what is the point of worrying?
Da take tanda de khari che gorsna pen nga zo ke chik soso ke lega la ya da boda ane soso ke panjor la ya da boda ane soso ke chong nyamgui do ya da boda tene ke ne tang kharu da boda tene da ba yimba ina ane ta nga tene chi chung song lega ke la song ta ina chung ma song sen soso semren che ne de dewa te ke pento yungu yo mares.
So in this, for example, if you lose a job or if you lose some money, like investment money in business, lose some money, in that kind of situation, if you worry about, oh, I lost my work, you worry about, it won't help. That being worrying just like that would not help you anything.
Tichidi kaso ka tedi la nga nga sok spend ta nani da talo da wa ina ta nga so nasa dubu teke zambuli la ka nga teche ne ta me mambo chi la ni chi chong la ya lega la ya ani panjo nyanggu do ya ni soso ko nomi za song la ya tilik ne so samyo le deba tene chungyo res.
And especially this pandemic, year, last year and this year, many people lost in this world their job, their money, they lost their business, and even they lost their loved ones.
Tene chungde kaso ta nga so tsani chuma song re ma song ta ina cha song san de deba teke ni nga so ka nga tele chobya ta nga tele thaya yo mares.
And if you think that, oh, I'm done with it, I'm just doomed it, nothing can help now, if you feel like that, then this won't help you at all to overcome this kind of a situation.
Tichidi kaso ta nga so ka ngoyo ne tole gi kya thone da tele thata de karche gersna ta tene ko soso ki chi lega laba ina enda panjo laba ina enda nam za chang tene na sa ke chene laba ina enda ta ti yongsha chu ne besan chena chu yongja rongja yungyan ki ndu da mindu ani nga so ke ko shimju chene soso ta chi che ga jires.
So in this kind of situation, what you have to do is you have to investigate, check it, whether that situation can be reversed or not. The situation, for example, the losing your job or the losing your money or the losing your businesses or losing your loved ones. You look and investigate it, whether that can be changed or not, whether you can go back to the previous situation or not.
Tati kasi lega lanjo tenete ko tapie tonga ina chu raya meba tena gi panjo jongun doya ina tapie tonga ya chu raya meba tena na gi nom da bo tene shili na da bo chene chu raya meba ji na tati le ngacho michele samthi che deba ina ya pendo kaya meba res tati chu loya meba ji chadi yorwas.
If when you investigate that point, that thing, if that you cannot restore that situation, like the job, there's no way that you can get back that job, and like money, the lost money, or the lost your businesses, or the lost your loved ones, if you cannot restore those things, then what's the point of worrying? Even if you worry your whole life, you cannot change it, So what's the point of worrying in that situation?
Tichidi kaso choronke teso chu loya meba kinni chu jua taya meba kinni chu imba chi hakwa tachi tongni tongpo kanga chin tredi kanga tene de condition trendu tiki juja den garrendu tane tachi tongni te loya meba imba chi chorong ngo chebi Nyima ne ni chorong semoni le tongni te tachi tugures.
So in this kind of situation, first you have to thoroughly investigate the situation, whether you can restore the situation or not. If you decided, or if you find that you cannot restore the situation, then from that day onward, you should be able to accept that, and you have to decide from that day onwards.
Te chorong tachi bi Nyima ne chorong kanga tele tadogures.
From that day, when you decide that you cannot restore that, you just accept that thing. From that day onwards, you will overcome that kind of difficulty.
Pe chajawa ina nani 다니 돈 죽을래 나데 토론토라 아니 무슬림 게 아니 이갈 글래갈랭에 제메치 투송스.
For example, in 2019, I met a Muslim, who is, doing this paperwork, helping in the paperworks
토론토라.
in Toronto.
아니 모노 출루데 아니 가제레샤스.
And her religion is Islam, Muslim religion. She's a follower of Muslim religion.
아니 모노게 초가도 만참제네. 아니 모베마시 초가를 콘로사 센두 제네. 아니 모노게 레가 다 센두 모보용우데가 레가 대한 따단 로마토 레가 대한 쇼 아니 제야 따야 가야 매바다지 차제네. 아니 파 유럽 스위스라네 그 로이 참참로 때는 로이 세이도스.
So during that time, she was not getting along with her husband. So she was really worrying about that thing. And because of that worrying, so kind of stressed out, and in that way, she is not able to focus in her daily life and the work. In that way, she lost her job as well. And then she was telling me that, she wants to go to Swiss in Europe just for visiting like that.
근데 스위스라 리조트 때는지 노는 뭐 데디카스를 가서 나도 다른 라마 트라바 때는지 되노는 데아데 데리지도 투세루스.
And when she went to Swiss, in Switzerland, she was at a resort there. In that resort, she met a monk, Buddhist monk, just like Khenpo.
네, 다테마 담보님 바선발라고 라마데게 쪼게모라고 쇼 되는 남주라고 된디 모론 다 타보다 버체네 파야다 버마제 돈 랜더 버마제네 돈노다 버체메세기도스.
And in the beginning, when that monk was kind of smiling at her, she was herself in a very big, stressed out, so she really didn't pay attention to that monk. That's what she told me.
근데 니마 가시에 텐데는 양샤 텐데 투 텐데 제 남주야 버텐디 아니 뭐 계제 신야다 버텐데 계제 시바 인생도스.
And after a few days, the guy was still there and smiling and a very good impression, just facial expression. So, slowly she started a conversation with the monk.
근데 모롱게 강하다보다 네조 가르쳐야 버테조 이제 콜 시야사레스.
And she narrated all her problems to the monk.
근데 다바데게 랍제네 다 저런 대도 템바 제토고 그랬어. 아니 강한테 세만나는 야대야 말했으네. 랍샤스. 좀 세모 보치제샤스.
And the monk told her that, it's no point of keeping all those worries within your own mind. You're able to get rid of those worries from your mind. And he also told many reasonings to do those things.
근데 나 타말레 코가 가를 랍샤세나. 다 저런 강한테 타르그여나. 아니 뭐게 데블라셔. 뭐게 다 야만 내조 가리나 뭐게 템바 제토사레스. 샤토사레스. 이나야 콜라 남야 고양다고 제토사 말했네. 랍샤스.
And she told him that, I can forget anything, but I'm not going to be able to forget him and forgive her husband.
아니 코가 가를 랍샤세나. 다 저런 강한테 타르그여나. 코 템바 제네 코 고양나 토그르마도 저런게 지시 코 고양나네 코라 가슴 간지 때 야마토 그 빠돌로 저런 강한테 타야 말았어. 대체데 저런 네바도 코 고양체네 니코 가서 버때 라 간지랑 단지데 매버체고 그랬네 랍샤스.
And the monk told her that as long as you cannot able to forget and forgive your husband, then there is no way that you can overcome this problem. You have to forgive him and, not to hold any grudge towards her husband.
아니 뭐 시라나와 도여서 말해 이나야다 딜라 삼노동가지 차샤스.
And she didn't really like that point, but that make her to ponder about that point, think about that point.
근데 뭐 소스는 초로 제대로 삼는 양샤단 근데 고르베르베 아니 직게 네바답지 니샤스.
And then, she came back from her tour to Switzerland, and she was thinking about that point again and again. And she kind of thought that that is kind of a reasonable point. She really thought that, that has some kind of point in forgetting her husband.
근데 니마지라 뭐게 따띵 맨네 레샤 세네 삼 땅체네. 근데 니마지라 고 뭐게 저가 소바 색마를 되게 땅체네. 아니 고빈 통사지는 고빈 갑레 랭아체네. 니마 드리닝에 저런 잡아 제바이스 아니 저런 차랑 메제레스 nga 메자레 많이 바로를 지간시게 아니 들레게 당선당 간생 가야 메세네. 근데 다 제샤스.
And then she really felt that, that is a reasonable point there. So one day she called her husband or ex-husband maybe at that point. So, and at a coffee shop and bought a coffee each and drank that coffee and then told him that from now onwards, we have nothing to do against each other. We're going to forget each other and not to have any kind of bad feeling or grudge against each other. And she just decided that way.
드네 니마 드네 존데 드네 뭐 셈바든 랑인 호만나지 추차치네 네 뭐런 그 미체데 뭐런 런샤 추 라샤스.
And from that day, she was back to her original self and she got her own life back.
드네 뭐런 영샤 미체 사바 제체네 아니 카르세고레 레가 영샤 제 레가다 다당아드 투디 가존 뭐고 이자기 레가 랭은 드네 레샤 아니 뭐런 미제 초가 사바지야 투 총자 조고 제이슨 드라그도스.
And then she looked for a job and was able to get a job. When I met her, she was dealing with this document, helping with the documents with other people. And she also told me that she met somebody who she loved and going to marry soon.
대체도 ngala 모롱 그 출루데 가게래사 출루는 좋아다야 그게 작게면도 이나야 저런 그 들어다 보건데 밑에서데 시촌들이 나쪽에 작업들라 그야게 미치래샤 세는 모롱 그 로과치알 가보치기도스.
And she was really happy to help me to telling me that although she has no point or no intention to change her religion, but the people like you wearing this kind of monk's robe, is something that's really essential and needed in this society.
드네다 버레스다 뭐가 가르치 따띵에 가르펜생 그거르스나 가시 쪄주면아 따딜 심주제네 쪄주면바 타케비니 뭐니 네 소식 산타체체네 아니 데콘 참자바이나 드네 강가들 토도고여레스 대치디 가서 가트 쪄스면은 텔메가 체치펜스 다 뭐게 딜 쪄스 용샤 코니 좀 종자 잡아요 말레스 이나야 따딜랑 컨섬체네 데 냐르데나 메체라 냐르데나야 둥아티 녀데그레스 틱다 쪄스 메바 용샤 코니 춘디야 메바 하코니 타짱마 제자와이나 니마 데니 근데 강가데 타도고여레스 띵이 벤선데다 고가데 쪄스면은 텔메가 체치펜스야기 단다드레스.
So what the point I'm trying to make here is that if you investigate that situation and that's something that you cannot change that situation back to your original point, then there's no point of worrying about it. Even if you worry the whole rest of your life, it's not going to change it. So you first check the situation, investigate it, and once it cannot be changed, it cannot be restored, then you should decide from that day, from that day onward that you have to accept that thing and then move on.
제지디 가서 저런 게 강아지 트디 강아티 간데스 트도 조전 가르치 제네 중도 그 젠자 되는데 세제네 딱지 제제네 땅아 차송 되는 섬제마데네 아니고 개참으로해서.
So whenever you face any kind of a situation, don't just the situation carry you over. Just investigate the source of that situation and check that one, whether that can be changed or not.
제지디 가서래 아니 손제 좀 된데게야 아니고 충고로 담보고네 저 담보성이 니뭘 가르쳐 말았잖아. 동ар 해봐자. 동ar 때는 나도 하고 그거래서네. 근데 송야래서.
Shakyamuni Buddha also, the first sermon that he taught was, you have to understand the suffering. That's what he taught for the first teachings.
Dechidi kaso tanga choke kanga chentra kande dabota chesa ne sosuke namilaya de zonde chungsa ne ta nyire ke nola tis ne to dimadi chunga chunche ne kanga de yundi kaso le tiki chensa dabota kare re do zopche tonya yen yo jere do me yo jere do de mocho ge at nenga tambo tres.
So no matter what kind of situation that you face, whether it is a big problem like passing away of one's own family member, or a small day-to-day, irritant, here and there like that, whatever that may be, first thing is to investigate that and to check whether that is something that that the situation can be modified or not.
Dechidi ta tende ke tache chene ta tangi kondo hiban ya shan she charudu kanji ane detsu zopche tonya menjo china ane ko jase chembo hiwala ke ya sumbare ane tanda ke ngi pension ke dungte no la ya takara logi te no la ya takara sagyo re dechidi kaslo choron ke loya meba china samba che tugures ta che tugures ta tugures ta tela sanno matonya
So if
te
the
kangale
situation
takaran kanga todugures ta
So if
tama che tona
the situation cannot be changed, now I'm here repeating again and again, but the point is, as also taught by the Shantideva, if the situation cannot be changed or cannot be restored, then no matter how much worry you do all throughout your life, it's no point. There's no point of doing that kind of worrying. So you have to be able to accept that kind of thing and move on.
Tene yanshaji jase chemo shwala tanda somana kate kyoso yanani tela mega chetios tichidi kasolo choron kanga chinte zaton ke kanga thaba inede panjo ke kanga thaba inede ane chi nata ke kanga thaba inede tena yi chini chi lega laya ke kanga thaba inede te yonsha soso mbechan chene soso ngene nontu chi che pena lega da buji nonala soso da buji chi mata ya da bakare ina ya yama yonsha ngeji je yona chi ngol tangele ko rewa da bu jemne yonsha soso sim ronjale leya yenju ke lega chi ni tu kare da buji ina ya yenju chi re na 아니 데이터를 가서 그 배짱 제네 아니 슈네 제네 제아르마도 아니 다 중마송 레마송 제네 센터 제네 데데사게 뱅그 말레스 딜리자 데고 개치아 차고레스.
And on the other hand, if the situation can be restored, it can be changed back to the original or back to a better situation, whether that be, due to your, losing your job or losing your money or due to sickness or, whatever the situation may be. If that situation can be changed, then, there's no point of worrying about it. Instead, you should try your best to try to restore that situation or try to get to change that situation into a better one.
디치디 가슬라 조치 또야 예주치 제이나 아니 딜라 소소 센터 제데야티 아니 펜토야 여 말을라 거바야 여 말레스 소소 딜 람가티 조피오 또야 예주테 조피오테 땅나야 그레스 데
So if the situation can be changed, then there is no point of worrying, and also there's no purpose of worrying, Instead, we should try hard to change that situation.
데지디 가슬레 간지 단다 동포 등에 가리피아 탑게 딴 거였으나 강가 간지 더버지 체도나 데 따지 돈에 뭐야 내주 가리임바 딜레 있죠네 동아 딜레 타래야 연주 그 내주 지ren도에 가서 내주지 주는 아주 강가지 체거라 디 내주데 접지 또야 연주 지ren도에 접지 또야 menju 지ren도 동포 때 딱지지 접지 또야 연주 지나 아니 데 센텐체데알레 접지 또야테 매천체 아니 접지 또야 menju 지ren도나 다가랑 타제네 는 참야야 돼 어따디 나도 소설에 니레 기나야라 미치노케다 강가 간데지 네비기 차랑아 좀 몸본 태사레 마음발란 태버는 주그레 간데지나야 강가를 다 동아래 동네 제동데 대차디어레스.
So in this first point, what I'm trying to make here is, we, facing lots of problems. In the past also we faced lots of problems. In the future also we are gonna face a lot of problems. But these problems comes due to certain causes and conditions. So we have to go to the root of those, source of that problem and check whether that can be something that we can change or not. If it can be changed, then there is no point of worrying about it. Instead, you should work hard to change the situation to a better situation. If that situation cannot be changed, then you have to accept that situation and move on, from that day onwards, try to stop that worrying and move on to your life.
어떻게 되겠어? 나니 달롱아 좀더 되게 나찬데 네츠도 삼노탄 소이 나차레 다 되게 잼베게 아니 나좀 잠블링라 자캅네 네 아니 시조네 메 게바네 조베게 아니 총라야 아니 가서는데 레갈라야 남의 자상라야 라스바 되게 강아 마뭐 진체요레스 대체조 되죠 노니 근데 속지 동야 연주지나 속지 동야라 패저치 다 차송선데 데마데지 속지 동야 면주지나 다가랑 타제네 참야야 la and so the message
So in this pandemic time of last year and this year, many people has lost their job, lost their businesses, lost their money, and even lost their loved ones. So instead of worrying about it, just investigate and check whether that you can change that situation or not. If it is something that you can change the situation, stop worrying about those things, and instead, put your energy into changing the situation into a better situation. And if that situation cannot be changed, then you have to accept the situation and stop worrying about it.
That's sonje kaya tangi kondi fiba nanji dungar heba cha sayana boda ane mehepa ne dungalo sayana ban ke counter ya ne ngoyo nezu kanga kandi jin teba ina di ngoyo nezu de kari imba de hakwa jego re sayate sonje ke kyo dampo sungdi ne ngazola ane ke 가서 당화도 보세나인다 맹한도 담보 땅이 아니고 그 체크기 잘려res.
So as mentioned earlier, Buddha also said that this understand the suffering. Suffering is something that needs to be understood, and also said that this not knowing is the main source of the sufferings. So whatever we do, we have to first thing is understand that that suffering and the causes of that suffering.
Dati ane kangal ta donen cheton sosuki niri choano inare michi choano inare ane tanda sosu kangal te yimba inare maoba teban joa inayanda tiki kangal donen cheton ke tanam kite ngarong samno chena ane te yaheji chorgiyas.
So this is one of the ways to transcend or to overcome the different difficulties that we face in our day-to-day life. Some of you might be facing right now at this very point some kind of difficulties going on in your mind, and I feel that this first point is one of the best way to overcome the sufferings and the worries.
Oh yeah. 다 영상 섹시 자자. 근데 다 단단 님바데라. 땅아 쪽에 렌데를 지조위 토니 아니 강아들라 돈에 제동 직여sam고도스.
And the second point, I think that based on the law of karma, the law of causality, I think that we can be able to overcome our worries and sufferings.
땅아쪽에 렌데를 지조그래 세디가슬레니야 렌데 사티다 노바 손제바 크로쪽 산나탄 단지레스야로 근데 산나탄 시그레스 카시게.
When we talk about the law of karma, some people might be thinking that this is something of a Buddhist notion, that's only that Buddhist people talk about.
이나 다 렌데 세바 데베 답 데버치 제바 이나 아니 레작 노나 karma 세거래 인직 노나 수조 액션 세기도 간지 자와 레가지라 세거레스.
The law of causality, actually, the proper word in Sanskrit is a karma, which in English means action, which means any kind of activities that you do.
지디가스 티페 마시 코 나초케 함 고무토야 잡로지니 지금 나군지노니 게 네츠지 가야 말했어. 가서 니리 소와노라 레가 야포지 제나 드레브 잠포지 탕이야 바데 레가 두자지 제나 드레브 두자지 무이야 바데 나도 용해 좀 돼야지레스. 레준데 사야데 니 지게 그랬어.
So this law of karma is not something, a very mysterious point or something that we bring back from a dark source or something like that. It's nothing like sort of like that. It is very easy to relate to our life in this very lifetime kind of. When we do something good, the result will be good. And when we do something bad, the result will be bad. This is the karma. That's the law of karma causality. If you do good, the result will be good. If you do bad, the result will be bad.
근데 당 아주 미세게 노노라 안에 협정이 비게 내가 보이나 소소 labda 노노 협정 야보치 근시 야보고 협정대 그 군처바지 제나 대라 바비게 내부 아니 소소레지게 라체이네레 네 현의 진짜 그래 대라 바비게 소소 레카지라 그래 대라 바비게 아니 소소 미세게 내당 차 그랬어 대나 이 labda 노노 로디가서 소소 쳬바야 보 매와지 협정 야보 마제나 대라 바비게 현 글라체레 현야레 기용 그래 대라 바비게 레카다 and so sig message yung gore te nga zo nywan no mitsiki nywan no yeda ni zo chires.
For example, if you're going to a school, if you're a student, and if you're a very good student, you'll learn all the things with a good conduct and all those things, then the result will be you will be able to have a good education from there. You will be able to get your degree or the diploma, whatever you are getting it from there, and you will also get a job according to that way. And if you are not a good student, if you're not really study hard, in the same way, you will have that kind of education or that level of education you will get, and then you may or may not get your diploma or degree, and then also job other related to that things. So it is something that we can relate it and we can experience it in our day-to-day life, in this very the world, in this lifetime.
대지디 가서 레전드 세야 돼 가서 잡로 지니파 셰바 치만데 치마산도 깨져 희게요 말았어. 소 카투 뭐에 내줄게 내가 야보 제와란 데브 잠보다 내가 두아 제바란 데브 두자 이마치 레전드 세야 돼. 답 대와 지니 희나 다가라레스.
So in a short and very easy to understand, the law of karma is, if you don't go back to the future lifetimes or the past lives, like that, if you relate to this very lifetime, is something like this we just talked about. If you do good, the result will be good. And then if you do bad, the result will be bad.
대지디 가서 가서 단다 아니 단 넘바 성지비긴 게 인다이 가르세 걸어서 나 레전드 때 싸와 레전드데 자와치베기 돈이 줄루데게 해용요레스 대제 가서는 줄루다 예힌다보다니 카젠다보다도 이나 고콘조 생이지 제바보 너지 단계 정인지 삼노다 아니 데고 투니나 아니 소마자 야보 찬도야 데 투마니나 소마두자 찬도야 데 잡로로 정인지 삼노단 거래 맞죠 너바 선지바기 디케랭고요 데니지 삼노단 거야 말 소시 아니 레카데 야보치미 딜라 투데와지 삼노단 거레스.
And of course, if you are a Buddhist follower, then this law of karma is the foundation of the Buddhist teachings, unlike the other religious traditions, like, for example, the Christianity or the Muslim traditions. They have this, notion of the God who creates everything in this world. So for these religions, you have a creator God, whereas in Buddhism, we don't have that kind of a creator God, but it depends on your own action, on your own karma.
대지디 가서라 다 딘데게 군초 생이지 잡로 예다와체 나초게 라팔라 소소 라 라마 메바체 군초게 가르치제다고 찬다야게 싸나 반탄데 다 티송 되담 예크 바다 예크 짜기바 나로라 메조 법정 다 아니 천리게 내조 몽포지 해당다 되네 제고리 가서라 아니 딜라 이체 추루로 다야지 아니 티송 해결했어.
And people talk about this during this 21st century, and in this scientific, when these scientific technology and science is very much going, spreading out in this world, people have lesser faith in this creator God, where you don't have any power to steer your own destiny, whereas somebody else behind you is making all these decisions. This kind of a faith, people say that, has less faith in this scientific era.
아저께 넘바 손지바게 시동 아니 레전드 동den중 세야게 깨자디 시공데 가서라 아니 아주 체리게 깨져야 돈다 대송 고 디라냐 기타냐 기타기바기 미 협정게 마로 지야게 도단다니데 타녀 캬거레스.
And the law of karma in the Buddhism and the notion of the emptiness and dependent origination in the Buddhist teachings are very much closer to the scientific way of talking, scientific way of findings. So in this way, it is getting closer to the modern science.
근데 지디 가서래 간지 안는 가족의 논책 레레게 토니게 제게군디란 제단 레드 내제네 사변 소소다 소소 따발레 뉴고 초아메바나 인체네 안에 가족의 레게발레 동알다 림베게와 제발레 레부 동알 중한테 다 루아메바레세네 안에 희고요레스.
So that's why within the Buddhism, the causality, the law of karma, it is like if you sow a seed of a rice, for sure you will get a rice fruit from that and nothing other than rice from that seeds that you sow. In the same way, if you did something, a positive actions, the result from that positive action would be happiness. While if you do something negative actions, the result would be suffering.
이제디 가서 맞아 그거에 내주게 지로게 다 가서 신 메도이나레 지히나레 로토이나레 카레이나야 고 주간데 지여바나 인드레부터네 지 멤바데 안에 맞아 뛰어서 멤바지 자고라서 가서 왜 내주게 줍대가지 자고라 봤어.
The outer world here, whether that be a plant or a fruit, trees or a flowers, whatever that may be, it all depends on the seed that you have. What kind of seed you have, that plant will grow from that seed, and nothing other than that plant will grow from that seed. This is something that we all can, witness to, that we all know about it, that we all can experience it.
대치디 가서는 아주 배나 주대단 레부더니 아니 주대 디겐 레부데 졸레다 용시 그래서 같이 조보 빈도야다 레부데 제공 레부데 데 제용한 제도야다 같이 유인해서 도바 빼는 데다 봐이나 나니래 고 민도야 나스는 민도와 같이 나제 라부데 토롱에 드네게 리도아세 테나잉 아저게 주대 사발라 때는 레부데 가듬히 마미세야게 아니 뒤저데 코렌도 나도 바지 요레스 이나야 주대 레부데니 템바 용야데 녜요레스.
There may be a different time duration for that causes to bear that fruit from that causes. You can also see that in our outer world like that. For example, a rice plant. When you sow a rice plant, certain rice plants you can harvest that within 2 months, while some other varieties takes 3 months, or while some even takes 8 months to harvest that rice. In the same way, in the law of karma too, whatever actions that you do, there may be a different time durations to bear fruit from that actions, but it is for sure that it will bear the action according to that seed.
지디가스 단다체 니토라 소소라 아니 만데바케 둥아다 강아 당게 콘데샤반다고 데네 니츠 간이다버지다 지 소시키 나바나기 마요바케 강아 간이다버지 테바이나야 디 주다 ចេញ 촌에 용기여바데 나초 그만에 제거 그랬어.
So in this context, we have to know that everything comes from due to the coming together of causes and conditions. So all the situations that we face, all the bad situation or the sufferings or the worries that you're facing, that also come into being due to different causes and conditions coming together.
대치디 가솔레 아니 나솔레 강아 칸데 지충난 다 차송 다 유마송 날 칸데 지데네지 유바이나 산네 안데 동아데네 코 데바이나 같이 싸노 데라 진티 데바이나 동아데 소소년들 여여바 차데 그랬어.
So when you face certain kind of very bad situation, if you think that now I'm done with it, now I cannot able to do anything out of this one, I cannot get out of this one, and if you just worry about the situation, then no matter what, you always have that kind of worry with you. You will not able to overcome that situation.
텔레장 되게 찹돌라 땅알레 텐데게 페나치 사뮤레 네바게 동아 윤시그레스 나솔레 치 소식 노미 차산라다야다 보다 니치 소식기 치 주반조 이내다 레가 이내다 소식이 내당 호마다 마다야 조아 슈참부터네 캡체는 니수 사뮤레 네바데 윤시바레스 디 윤디 갑술라 카투텔라 오 ngalde ni yunya de juda cheni manso pala yunya yo mare tichi de kasum homa ni tinde yunya ke lechi 사여바 타져서리 디긴 레버데 민거요래 다른 띠와 되게 니게 아니 직레 냐바 사조게 나민데 장도 요래 사야다고 근데 그 싸움을 직접 토이나 아니 강아들 뇨로 떠야다 강아들 타라게 랑과지 여버렸어.
So when such kind of a bad situation, some kind of unthinkable bad situation you face, at that time, if you think about that, oh, these kind of situation won't just randomly come like that. It has some kind of causes and condition that makes this to come to me, that I have to go through this kind of a bad situation. This is for sure because in some time in my past, whether this life or in the past lifetimes, I might have accumulated some kind of negative karma so that this is coming to me. So when you face something like that, then you have to think about that way. And you think that, oh, in this way, my bad karma that I've accumulated is been exhausted in this situation. So if you're able to think it in that way, then it will lessen that the worries that you are going through. It will, much less burden that in your mind.
Tati samnote pe ke Khenpo chagu yores. Pena ngazo peba dawa ina ani koron namjun shito ke kaju dawa samna dona ya ani du nang hanchi lere saji ki ye mang ye chenjola ni tende tangne ko samna tang yores.
And I think that this is very important point. In our Tibetan society, we have this even in a folk song that, says that if I face some kind of bad situation, that is because of my own past karma.
Tiki samna tang de shito kono na samna tang de ko da chik pena chik pena wina da chik preji non tende tan lo tongda gang do sare tiki ma jing dan pacha dan ani chikar sagura te komshi te ma chi ni chi ji ga joke ta tisan ani ko tijo njo chene me chama ya samati sabarab chando wera ma de ngama da bo yina ani mitido da chik ngalzo mombo lega mombo chene chi shule che ga ya ke zupo te pe ma si ki chobo ani entertainment jo ani chi ko ne na za yenge ani zupo chobo yina ya semba de hihi domba den zum hihi da botini chiore is pe
So the Buddhism came into Tibet more than 1,000 years ago, and since then we have this culture, Buddhist culture, that has been passed down from our ancestors. So in that way, we have this kind of a thinking about this karma, even in our folk songs, in our day-to-day life, we have kind of that kind of a feeling and that kind of thinking. Although the physical infrastructures and the health facilities and all those are very bad compared to others, and in that way the physical health and all those are not that good, but still they have this mentally have this happy feeling, and if you see the face, they have a very smiling face. That kind of a society, although this is being changing rapidly in this new era.
Chidi sulu pen pe lumba da ina ta tisan ki ne tong rang chi me sung ma nga so da pe le big ne kong sang na so wa re tension re so de no cho lumba de so da durna hajang ge ani ko shencha yo deng ge res.
So in Tibet, I'm not talking about the current situation. In the previous, although the livelihood, the facilities are very poor compared to the modern world, compared to the modern Western world.
Inaya me choma semba de le hi dompa den zum hi ji yores de zawa de nge samna dona de ne du nang han ji le re sa len de la yi che ting zu ba ji che ne ganga de 삼노 당당지기 돈이 용구여서 하는 거지 초르기여서.
But mentally, they are much more relaxed. They are much more comfortable in the mental level. So I'm thinking that the background of that, mentally relaxed and feeling is because of this karma, law of karma. They're having faith in the law of karma, thinking about if you face some bad situation, that is due to your own past karma.
Ati pepa chigo marese, nga tsoke nanchu nyamna yapoche, lende la iche yapo yedenge, ne tso me kante chi yuna ya, ane ne tong tende chi yunga de ngeba nabachi. Mak, samdotong, ngarang samdotong tende chorgiyas.
And I feel that that's not just confined to Tibetans. Anybody who has a faith in the Buddhist teaching and a faith in the law of karma, they have the same kind of having relaxed mind.
Te ta ngaro chunju kone shesa da tsaza pele inza, peki netso te tone keje, pensan rabu shogiyas.
Since I was born and raised up in Tibet, so I'm just talking about the Tibetan society as an example here.
Tan chik nupcho ke lumba, te zola ta ngado yinrimbo chaya maranda, lo Nyima chaya tenchen da chi tenchen da hal saya ke, ni yaje ke neto teni jina ya, non sen nolo ni te zamchi jide da, ni pa pepa da, lomba den zung ke kande ya rabaji, nyunyu re shas.
And this Western society, although I've been less than 2 years in this Western society, although the outer facilities and all the things are very much advanced outwardly, but inwardly I don't see much relaxed people and have a very smiling people like that.
Te karsana nga so yiche lede la yiche da te nyuru roya ke neso chi tani ndewa ya barabaji chorgudus.
And I feel that has some kind of relation to the having lesser and lesser faith in the law of karma.
Deje de kaso nga so ke neso kanga khande dobuchi chuna ya na ya. Ta ti ki juchen mansona yuya meba chi ta junchen ten huma sosyo ki sa ne ti ki ndebo de nami de nyongu ya batela yiche che ne ane te ko chöso meba imbachi. Ko te soso chenyo lega inda soso ki pena nek sabanle nek ndebo da ndek sabanle ndek nyugu juwa na yiche ne soso ki chibi lega tege ndebo de soso la nyongu ya ba. Di stano toma ina ya ane khatu tela ta chungma so ndima so ta ngal tende khani chen yumba ina saya ke donga te meba ane nyuru tong ya la ko ten ke ne pendo ya ba jires.
So whenever you're facing any kind of this bad situation, you have to know that these won't come without cause and conditions. And the thing that you're being facing with this kind of situation is that you already had accumulated that kind of a causes and conditions in the past. Just like, from a barley seed, you can only grow barley from that one. And from a rice seed, you can only, get rice out of that. In the same way, if you have sown some kind of a bad seed or a negative karma accumulated in the past, the result of that will be bad. And if you do something good, you will have some kind of happiness as a result of that one.
Techi di kaso la sonje chomde de kaya dani dak gaye je yen sukin gant jur se anda bota. Tena ye chene tabaron la rale sheba chi se anda bo. Sosu ken gen de soso ran le yaba sosu lega yabo chena yabo dan lega duja chena duja chege yaba. Suki la kate sa meba ji en soso samdang go res lene samdang da.
And Shakyamuni Buddha has said that oneself is one's own protector, and he also said that you have to understand that the liberation is up to you whether you achieve that or not. So in that way, when you think about the law of causality, you have to think that it's up to you. You are the own creator of that karma. You are the creator of that karma, whether that be a good or bad.
Techi di kaso me kashi misele chik besan raba chin ju dewa ina ya panjo raba da tene chik kodu chema toya. Me kashi lele chine ne dewa ina ya panjo raba tene kare ina ya chik 나솔레 고 드네크 용대야 대촌다바 이나 고 소송 시장 하마라 초사 야비킨 레버지 바데 아니 나초게 돌토고야레스 테마도 니 유메해바지레스.
So you will see that some people, even though they work so hard throughout their life, but still they don't have much money or the wealth accumulated properly. While some others, even though they don't do much work there, but still they were able to accumulate lots of wealth and money out of there. And these things are nothing but because of their own past karma, they're able to do that thing. Some can accumulate more and some cannot, even though you work that hard.
지디가슬레 아니 가르송야르스나 하마 가제 다딜릴라데스 치마 간주 아니 다딜레라데스 데송야레스.
So it is said that how you did in the past, you look at this lifetime, and how you're going to be in the future, you look at your present actions, the present karma.
디지디가슬레 단다 첸딜라 소소 zulonshe loncho이나야 간데지도 주반조이나 간데지도 토코사이나 간데지도 데 시왕함이게 아니 레 장네사팔라 라레 데바치 차위어레스 제 메바 마레데 아니 주디틸라 라레 데바여레스 라레게 요레스.
So the present situation, the type of body that you have a handsome, a beautiful body, or you have this wealth, lots of wealth and money or not, you have a high-ranking job and not, these are all because of your own past karma. It's not something that come out of randomness.
근데 시바 치마라 소소 반저 그거야나 짐바탄고 그래 롱셔 그거나 자바공고 그래 대나기 전에 시바 치마라 소소 야부지 그거야나 첸데토라 소소기 디기 주트사고 그래스.
So in the same way, in the future lifetime, if you want something good, then you have to accumulate that kind of a cause from now itself in this lifetime. Like if you want a very beautiful or a handsome body, then you have to practice the patience. If you want something wealthy, wealth and those, you have to practice the generosity. Like that, whatever you sow the seed now, you can reap that in the future.
이제 가서 소소파 가세 동표견 전에 반조 동와이나 소소로 롱셔데 춘코고야데 춘이디 타거레스.
So it's natural that, the more you give and practice the generosity, the more wealthier you will be in the future lifetime.
어디지디 갔을래? 가르사고래. 단당에 데니 가르히고야세나 첸데토라 소소 깡가 첸타 간리 지트레스구나. 디 시간 후만에 가서 나랑서 소소겠어 예비게 레긴데 좀 해매야봐. 데니게 레레라 이체제 전에 오당아들 용거야 되나로 시간 뭐 랭에사비긴 데보레 데라 제아요 말에 상하는 거지. 고 직선나 담바이나 아니 고 강아데 메바차야 강아데만 뉴르 동아야다. 데니게 고 다남지야 바랭이 데 단다 너도 대슈고요스.
So the main point I'm trying to make here is that whatever situation, whether that's a very big or small bad situation that you're going through, all because this all come into because of your own some kind of negative karma that you have accumulated in the past, and just accepting that that is something that you have made that situation that in the past, so that will help you to alleviate that kind of a suffering in your mind.
다행히 데리 슈디 가서 가시 텐시 바래 오 근데 메 가야로와지 코 메젤 페마치게 멜레 두종동 나케동 가스는 직 랭에 사데나야 콜 주판조 톱가사 영에 되는도와 가이 이첸딜라고 게와도 메전체 직 창처부체 가리나 제대바이나 동안체 강안체 나사용 되기도와 데 간데이나 삼바도 윤시그레 데 지디 가서래 코레 단다랑 산다 단다 메빙 예바요 말했어 가히 고 첸데도라 ko chi lenge mo bosa dena yana ya chi tene panjo talon shete ni yunde ya te okay jute ngama ke debu jute ngama ke sonam sa ya ji debu talon shete ya cha de yores danda lenge sa de ke debu te no ba la mi yores khashi
So when I said these things, because of your own past, of your own karma, then some people might be thinking that, oh, there are some people, here who do everything bad thing at all throughout his life, but he still has a lot of wealth, still have a very comfortable life, and still have, no problems to him. Whereas the other guy, he is doing all kind of positive actions. He is doing prayers. He is accumulating mantras, or doing all those things, but every bad situation that he has to face, how come this can be? You might have that kind of a doubt. But this law of karma is not something, it's not guaranteed to have the result right away. So if the bad guy is still having some kind of good thing, means that he is reaping the result of his past good karmas, and the guy who does good thing right now is going through bad thing. He's, that karma, the result of that karma, he will have that in a future lifetime.
Na yi cheni tsende to la na sonam sa de ni ganga trading te so ina ya ganga trade ya de xiang homa lengen sa bi kinde de nyong de yo so so tsende to la sonam sa da de mao ba la so so ming e ba ji cha yo de o tende ke tonen zam za la nga zo yo len de la san to de ka so le to ba da nam to de ni yung ya ji res te so le len de ko tandara ming me ba tende chene ming yo ba ji san to na ane de la ji ri ba da tende ke tonen ga wan ba da ji ke ka ya ma res.
So if you think that, understand that this, the result of the law of karma may not get it right away, in that way, then you understand that, this good guy who's always accumulating only the positive actions, still facing bad things, that means he has this good karma stored there in for some future lifetimes.
Da tende ke thone nga zo ke sewa de thola tanda kon shiba na yi chine le de min da tene min ya ba ke thone ane so so la chi ka nga da chi mali ya ke ne so khare da ba chen da chwa ina ya te so so lengen sa bi chen de bu chi min ya ba ti chi di ka so nga so ke lengen sa ba de yona nyen bo ten chen ni pa me ba zo ya ji da yona ti ki lengen sa bi ke na mi de rong ke ji la mi chen ni me ba cha ya ni ma to ta pye ya ma ti chi di so so la ama lengen sa bi ke na mi de mi chen ni 아니 그 레데 장더야 봐. 어딘데 삼노당 토바이나. 가와 공부해야 하지. 어딘데 보다 가서 로션 때도 놀라. 아니 시나메가 두나가 세야로 어딘데 내서 되니 요레스.
So in that way, when you are facing those bad situations, then you have to know that those are the result of the past bad karma that you accumulated. And once you have accumulated the bad karma, it can have only two ways to get over with it. Either you have to apply some kind of antidote and purify that bad karma, or you have to that karma has to have bear fruit and then finish over with it. So when you see that you are facing some bad situation, that means that you are bearing the fruit of your past bad karma, which means that that bad karma is being exhausted. In that way, you have to be happy that that bad karma is being done over with. So that's why in some of the mind training teachings, it says that I'm not happy when I'm have a happy situation, a good situation. I'm happy that when I'm facing some bad situations, which means because you are being exhausting that bad karma. That's why it says that I'm happy if it's facing some bad situation, because in that way, I'm exhausting the bad karmas that I have accumulated.
ane je soso ke chöda bu hu chen bo che chö che ke sam no hu chen bo da bu ye te de da bu che ke chö che ke ko ji me chen da bu je di ka so le na ya re ane pan jo nyam gi cha ya re ane soso le cheng da bu te ne chung na ane ti ko sia nga ma ke leng sa pi ke na mi de ta na ra la mi che ne ane ko chi di ba jong ya ke ne chu da bu ji ba ne nga so no che no la hie ge yo re la ne pe bi ke ta no la te ne yo res.
So especially if you are doing some kind of dharma practice, or you have this strong intention to do Dharma practice, or you are applying a very strong perseverance in this practicing of Dharma, and you are facing these bad situations like you losing your job or losing money and those things, then at that time, that situation makes that your bad karma being exhausting and having that bearing the fruit, ripening it at that very moment, and we are done away with that way. In that way, you are purifying those obscurations of the past.
대치디 가서 드네게다 소소레 젠데돌라 강가다 동아 간디테나야 뭐 드네게 고 후말랭에서 비게 남이지 종이야바 어 드네게 돌라산노 동토나야 근데 저런게 강가테는데 돈의 재단지레스.
And in this way, thinking about the law of karma, that whenever you face certain bad situation, thinking that that is the result of my own past karma, and overcoming that, situation is one way of doing or overcoming this situation, bad situations.
아야, 다 단다 숨바데. 다 단다 숨바데 다 강가 간이라 보진 태바 있나요? 영아죠. 메타발라 이체네. And social jua ngale cheba te thoni ane kanga done che don jires.
And the third point is, whenever you find any kind of bad situation, you have to have faith in the impermanence and accepting the change.
Tije de kaso kan sungasa na taba tanje seba jun thoa ten thal hungde ane Nduayana, Drawa, Shawayana, Chuanjus. That is the Gasolingazo, Chinho, Jinjita, Nonchi, Sanja, Kandichinaya, Metapa Granires.
It says that everything, whether that be outer world or inner beings living in this world, everything is subject to a change because they are subject to impermanence. Everything that has been came together will obviously will disperse. Everything that's high up there will come low. So this is the natural that that change will occur.
This is the Gasolingazola, that I can't hear when you can't candidate with Jingazo Michi Nonola, Sosoki, Legai, Renare, Nomi in a Repanjo in a Tangazo, Sosola, Debate Mandupaki, then the Kanga Cheju Candida, which in Tigionaya. The Kanga that social and tay on the Gasola, that Chuma son, Sanda, the Kanga de Kune Dema de Vachene. Ane Natsoke, go pension Momboji Yoros, the Chiti Gasola, Pena, Anekoji. Tonga Tongchen, Jarbo in and Pambo in and Tenajichin and Tawan Tambo that Toban Tambo in Lama, Sonji Tomden de Inaya, Nikunyang and Deva. What are the Nick and Juat on its own called Metapa Gran Hit the San Otan de Pe, Joko Ganga the Neuroton and the Megazoya Takitis.
So whenever we face any bad situation, as we already described those things, like losing a job, losing one's own family members, or losing their money, and not getting across of what you wished for, and all these things, just when you face those things, not just lose heart and just those things, you have to think that, these about we have so many different examples there, even the mightiest king in the world and the wealthiest person or the most powerful person, they also have to die. Even the Buddha, Shakyamuni Buddha, he also, didn't live forever. He has to die too. So thinking about all this impermanent, and that will help you to alleviate that sufferings.
Sosu Pamanda, which Tomaina, Nom Pinjada Tony, Sosu Ganga, Dungada, which Yuainaya. Oh, that's Mune Ko Sonji Jamden Day, and then San Jesse Miki, the Kwanzat Nijinaya, and then Kolo Judge Chachi Chani, the Tony Kunyang and dead was. And then Guru Bachenda in a take called Hasitam Yetana Tabake and Tutata, and the Zuntru Ramaying. Ko Jishik Nabatini Bayinaya. Tama, and it goes in you Pevina and the Hill Pevina Kanji, never chant was. That the Neda Tony and the social Sano Tanchin, and enjoy the Chuni Bajila Sanoton and the Picket Chargores, Kanadona Cheron.
Like if you, facing losing of your loved ones, your parents or your spouses, when you, face that kind of situation, think about Shakyamuni Buddha. even though he's fully enlightened Buddha, he attained the Buddhahood, but still at the age of 81, 82, around that time, he has to pass away. He didn't live forever. Think about Padmasambhava. He born as a miraculous birth. He has this miraculous birth, and he's so powerful. He tamed all this bad spirits in Tibet and everything did he like that. But finally, whether he be in the land of the demons there or whatever, but still we don't have here in this world now. Thinking about these things, that even these great beings, they are subject to impermanence. So you have to think about those things, and that will help you to think about that nature, impermanence, and that everything is subject to change.
Then I benada Namada in the per Jabot Tresson then the sound of Sonsen of the sound of the Pemazi top chamber, the Nathan chamber sound of here. Tanda means Amado Yamaras. Then I eat Jacobin and Jaboin and that ko canted about your top the Nathan long shirt Dembachina. Juiki Chuni, but they not to do to me by this. They do me by Imbati, not to Melenda. And enjoy the way about things not to Melechet about the package of this.
Even the great Tibetan emperor like Songtsen Gampo or the Tresong Detsen, they were such great emperor, but now we don't have, just the name is left behind. So thinking about all this, impermanence nature of everything, that everything is subject to change, that nobody can stop that change. And you have to accept that kind of change, that way help us to alleviate or to overcome that kind of a sense of loss.
The Jagada was another Jabokasho, Ashoka, with that Jaboket, the Lake Pemasiki, Chick, Tomatan chain, Teneta. Tina each independent Nalanda Sada Wotan, Jakake, Ane, Chudet, and Hansa get in the chamber and Mabo, Yabaki, Segura, Sina, Tanda, Soma, Chonrota Meba Chandoris. That the Lake Juate Mazok Melechiate, Nipe Kitchen with Chagoris.
In the same way, in India too, the great emperor like the King Ashoka, and they were also great center of Buddhist learning, like the Nalanda universities. But these are all gone, and you see the Nalanda University right now, you can see just some ruins there. So these are all subject to change. We have to accept that everything is subject to change because it's all impermanent.
아니 내주 진주와 텐네 소소그 노밀라야레 반졸라야레 아니 데나기 질레갈라야레 카레이네 기 만디바지 차네 소소그 샘노라 두르나데다 동아게 초아질레고디 데 뉴자데 가르치고 얼서나 뭐마 동알다 깡나데 만티빈 그그 싸노그 갑솔레 데 따비기라이 뉴아 메바라이 지 싸노 따네 오 따테도자니 건주아 메바지레 삼버틱 싸노지 똥데야케
So whenever changes occur, like losing one's own loved ones or losing job, anything, it's because when you have those things, you have that kind of a sense of permanent there, that this will last forever. When you have that kind of thing, then when it changes, when it's no longer there as that everlasting situation there, then you have that kind of worry and that kind of a suffering that comes from it.
So 그 노미다버지 펜치치 길레체와단 잠바다 칸데메가 칸데지야와 이나 노미자좀 빈자 도투 칸데다버지야와 이나 니마키라 안 소소 제네 카타네 주안루기야바테 담보네가 조금 고쳐네 응연체고 그래서
no matter how good relations that you have within your own family, with your spouses, kids, parents, there's a very harmonious and good relation, but you have to accept that from the beginning that this situation will not last forever. There is this change, that is this situation, all the situations are subject to change. You have to accept that kind of a thing, that kind of reality.
레가다 가네지여바 이나야 유비기 뒤쳐들라 소소 배셔야 보지 따네 데 단다 덴바지 제야데 개참을 잘 거레스.
In the same way, when you have a good job and good money and wealth, it's important that when you have that one, you make good use of those things.
남식이 있잖아. 그 대전 초마 샤진데 대전 초마다 다진데 소소 기부대 그 카타그야 바데 단단히 말도 그 사람 돈에 세면데 다리어고 그래서.
Eventually, these are all going to part away. You have to accept that from now itself, that this is not going to last forever.
대체대 가서 나좀 주하다. 즉 빼나직 고사다보다 즉 뺨보다보 내주나보 지나야 아니 소소 뺨보 인데비 내가 되네들 따바다보 즉 뺨마지긴 주아메바다보 산노 돈이 헛데가데 본주다보 지 땅우데 가서 아니 저마토바데 dun가다 강아지 돈이 아니 시도를 내가자 되네 내서 뭐 중단 중이가 되네다보 지 가서 본주도 왔어.
So when you have a great position or a great leader or something like that, so you have to know that this is going to change, and you have to accept that change, that one day it will not be there, change. When you cannot accept that, then you see in this world, many kinds of things happening when people were not able to accept that their position is being changed.
대체기 가서 같이 이나야 소소를 반조 여빈 내가 이나야 매바 윤주야 같이 윤 내바지 윤시바지 근데 소소라 너무 야보 야바 이나야 대다 카타 다주 임바지 다 내바지 대나 이제는 소소라 즉 반조이나 토과사이나 카레 이나야 뉴한 로기 야바데 뉴한 로야데 소소 응내 제토바데 아니 강할 돈에 제동 야시지레스.
So in that way, whenever you have in a good situation, like a good wealth and a very good family, from that time itself, you would accept that, it is subject to change. You may not have this kind of wealth and luxury all the time, or you will for sure going to part away from your family members. You have to accept it from the very beginning, that this is all things are subject to change. So in that way, when the change comes, it will not be that hard on you, because you already know that those are subject to change and those will not last forever.
대치디 가서 근데 그거는 맞아 봤잖아. 말다티 가르치는 유바이나 말때 가르치는 아니 그 매바 차와이나 만디바 차와이나 동아데 말 가르친 제바이나 상가 삼노데 같이 진티니 소소 단징기 그랑이데 주아메바 그랑이데 진티체네 소소 주아에 응네 맞아 봤잖아. 제삼데바 대산도처럼 그 동아데 소소년들한테 대대 그랬어.
So when you are not able to accept that change, then you have this suffering, and then you always think that why me when something changes happen to you, and that's because you always have this kind of a permanent situation in your mind. So you are not able to accept the change. That's why as long as you're not able to accept the change, that suffering will be with you until you have that change in your mind.
대치디 가서 가디나에 저런 라고 아마도 만다와 강아도 내주지 중네 아니 좋아지 때문에 저런 강아지도 체주나 좋아도 용시바다 용해봐 술라이네 용이여봐 용다 용이바 이바지 능을내 제네 좋아도 당내 제바데 빼마지기 동아다 강아도 돈에 제동 야시지 제스.
So whenever you're able to, face a situation, there's a different situation from the one that you have, accepting that change and accepting that, this kind of change, anybody can face this kind of change. In that way, accepting that change, will help you, have much lesser kind of effect on you, lesser kind of negative effect on you.
대치디 가서 딱 가디네 가서게 아니 지금 메타바 촐레스타노 돈네 다티니케 펜션 니데데니 샤카야 마레 자보이나이다 라마이나이다 반조 참보이나이다 수다버지나야 소마 좋아 디빅 잘라송여바 다단도 임바임바 마오발란도 주임바 어티니케 메타바단 주이랑이지 임바 아니 소소게 이체비 돈네데 소소라이 디네근 좋아 데비가솔라이 딘주아데 응네지아데 아니 강가다 둥가데 파도답단 데레 타답게 아니 콜람카 야셔 찌그레스 단다 somebody things.
So in short, whenever any kind of a situation, change in situation you come across, you think about all the great masters and the great people in the past, that even they are also subject to this change. The great king, the great powerful person, they also changed. And in the past also the change happened, and the present also these changes are being happening. In the future also they are bound to come. These changes are bound to come. So in that way, accepting that these changes are there and subject to everything is subject to change, that is one of the best to elevate, to overcome these kind of sufferings and pains.
Tanda sosola ne puji inayenda, nam zatong inayenda, yena, tezo namshi ki tsena, tezo miriwa ji nolola katagi yaba, juandogi yaba te sose ngotraba da yi chebi ke tone. Tanda nyamdo yobi katula, ni chambo dan tembo, nima rede inaya, chuche rede inaya, ni jiki jila, zasem ke tone, choa jela, bechan jia de ke chambo res.
So right now, if you have a very good family with a good, nice kids and very loving spouses, during this time, you have to enjoy and value every day and every moment of your togetherness. And you should also accept that this will not last forever. This is subject to change as well.
Then you social banjo double tension double the yaba inaya. Now you get sent the last siba, port siba, ani meba chasiba, ani soso yan did the canton in Namchi and Chigi yaba hako with Tony, Tandalia Lama and Chabapua inade, Matombo Zibaton and inade, and social banjo la babi and the big patient yabuton toyade, Niki Chambres.
So in the same way, if you have a very good luxurious life with good money and wealth, you have these things, but you have to accept that these are also subject to change. Either you may lose those things, or you may have to part. You have to die. When you die, you have to part these things. So you have to accept those facts and able to use the best way to use it while you have those facilities and those wealth, by offering it towards the triple gem, or by practicing generosity towards the needy people. Those things are important to do while you have it.
Kasi the leg jachemo menaya, so le kan yaba teke, ndochu choye chene, so sik semla. Even
if you don't have too much wealth in those things, but then you should be content and satisfied with whatever you have, and to use the best, using the best way of whatever you have.
Ani kunjua meba yimba ke tanzi shu kembo de mayimba chene. Ani ko chik kunjua ke rong yimba. Tani kunjua de ngane chebe ke tone soso ani kanga kandri dabo chi chena ya te ko chunyi yimba chi tone samna tong tuwa yina. Te ngane che tuwa yina. Ani kanga tele todo ures.
So in this way, what I'm trying to say is, don't hold that something is permanent and that will last forever. You should always think about impermanence and the transitory nature of everything. That's everything is subject to change. In that way, if you accept that change is there, everything is subject to change. In that way, you're able to overcome and alleviate the sufferings and pains of these losing things.
Aya, that is mother ins. Then is jibatela. Ani yang azo kanga cheba yina.
And that's the third point. Now, my fourth and last point.
Ta kanga de lady gasole, pen kanga chetang de chiba yimba yina ya, dunga chechung de rang jenzi chechu go tone. Rang jenzi chita chewa de zanji kanga de chembo chando gores.
So this fourth point, even though you have the same kind of problem facing there, but it depends on how much ego or self-grasping you have that makes the situation differently to a different person,
Tichidi kasola, ane rong jenzi am, ane danzin te nyung rutane, yen la pense maam, ane yenda la sano maams ton tuba ina, ane kanga kande jin tewa ina ya, yon tela donay cheton ki nambaji nechu ki res, tanda yiba things.
So first one I'm trying to say is to lessen your ego or the self-grasping thing. In that way, if you have this less thinking about yourself or ego, that will help you, to overcome the this fourth method.
Tichitiga Sulani, also a pena midni, Jik Pematic dancing the ranching the Shuchamoche, Ji the dates that a meva, Yana Samno Tangi, but in a Koni Pena, Banjo Dobochi, Legandabochi, Layate, Latan, the Nisu Juba inaya, Jisamchi dancing da, and the ranching the Shuchambo, Yana Samno Tomato Midi, La Dungata Kanga Chal Yodiores.
For example, if we have two people here, one is very selfish, egoistic, self-clinging ego person, and the other is more about thinking of other people's welfare. Even if they face the same situation, they handle it differently. The one more egoistic one has this situation, feel more suffering for that person, while the other person who normally thinks about other people and other people's benefits, they have this less negative effect on that person.
Dancing the ranching the future by young methodol, Kamach that's the Tegonaya, and it's Ronchi Jayandavota, and the Sambana the meeting in Chandaya, and Donga Timatomati, Yungate. Sitan Gabulin, you were Habat the Nuchuk Lombala Pay, Huchambres.
So that's why when this egoistic person, self-grasping ego person, when they face even a small situation, they're not able to withstand that kind of situation, and they commit suicide and those things. Although this kind of situation is prevalent everywhere throughout this world, but we see more so in the Western world.
The Karasana Azoke, Nuju Lumbala, Charonle Haba Yamare, Charon Matuba Kaya Yamare, Charon to go with Chego, Charon Rama, but the Mampo, Aneko, Puki, Nekamia, Soso Davota, Hobjon Mampo Chene, Danzi da Ron Chinzi de la, Ani Shuna Dabu Shucham Jaga Joteke, Ani Neton, the Nichungi about Marankan Tondos.
The reason I feel that because in this Western world, even when the people, even in the child, very young age, they were encouraged to be, more kind of a selfish, more self-confident person, saying that there's nothing you cannot do. You should do this. You should do that. You can't do anything. That kind of a more, self-grasping way or more egoistic way of education and society that makes that person that way.
Techidigas, Tenetron, Kangachunchu Tre, like teach Mandi, Lamdo teach the Majugundikas, Nete Tuguri, Nete Chegore, Nalati Karachini Yure, Nalti Yunat and Digimar Sand of a ticket Tony, and this is Samana the Menenga Chandra, Ronchi Jabra, Tenik Neto Moboji, Kangatila Donachi Matawa, Chandra, Yungiaris.
So then this kind of person, when a small situation faced then that person thinking, why I'm having this kind of bad situation? I should be able to not to have this kind of thing. Why me? That kind of a very strong reaction that way, and not able to handle it nicely. And in the worst case scenario, they commit suicide, or even if they didn't commit suicide, psychologically, they are imbalanced kind of, that kind of situation we see all the time.
Oh, Techidikas, Kati Yinaya. Ani rang ke danjin da rang chin de ma nyuru tong ya ke tapi ani yen la san no man se tan to ya ke ani ko chanchu ke sem tanga chu ke jakhe se hena samba chanchu ke sem tini ko yen la la san da yen pen ke san no de gar sen ya konto tong ya chena ani choron ka nga chen ta khande jin chen na ya done che le la ro da ani ko chi nyuru da yungres.
So that's why at all times you should think about others' beings' benefit, other beings' welfare. So in the Buddhist term, we talk about bodhicitta, that kind of a mind of enlightenment, that kind of thinking of other people's welfare. That way, if you think it that way, then it will help you to reduce your own worry, reduce your own anxieties and sufferings.
Tichitikas choron michi no la janju ke senda yempen la lo jone dige to la lane khatup kitup taya de de choron yang kanga la done chirang jeres.
So in this way, thinking about others' benefit, thinking about helping others, this is another way of handling your own worries and bad situation.
Teaching the sta teacher ki chembe ki tene da chena kanji ani ngoyo la jitjo wiki toni ani karsone kyose yomit ti zobje toya yome ki toni ni kanga done jito jita le junde le jitjo wiki toni ani soso ki kanga dele done jeton jita ani metapa la ani karse kore i chebi ki toni ani jwa la ngelen chebi ki toni done jeton jita ane rong jianjing da ane danji di nyur da ne yanpan da janju ke semlo jong to ne ne kanga la done che don o te tini ye karung so so ke yabu ji sam no tong to ba ina chorong ku mi che no lo la kanga mao ba dan dan thi yin ba da mao ba thi ju kan de na ya done che le la bo da je to ji cha ge sam ko dos.
So we don't have much time now to go through much. So in short, what I was talking today is making 4 main points here to overcome any kind of difficulties that you're facing. The first one is, to investigate the real situation, to, the source of that suffering, whatever that you're going through. And then, if it's something that can be changed, then try hard to change the situation. And if it's something that cannot be changed, then accept that that cannot be changed. And the second one is based on the law of karma, to accept that thing based on one's law of karma. And the third one is everything is subject to change and impermanent. So accepting that change is the third one. And the fourth and the last one is to reduce one's own self-clinging, the egoistic mind, and think about other people and other people's benefit as much as you can, which is in Buddhism we call the bodhisattva's action. That's a bodhicitta. Try to increase that kind of a sense, and in that way, whatever situation, bad situations that you're facing or you're going to face in the future, if you handle it through one of these 4 steps, I'm sure it will help you to elevate and overcome that kind of the sufferings and pains.
Oh yeah, that did a chick on some ya instantly. She done that the double catch the castle, Paduolo, the chick, Gamon high, Jota, Titi, Shagre, Naka Comshilla, take it higher, Maris, the knee. Go Chedigas, the chick, Trobo, Shida, Yungu, Contas.
So if maybe it's better if when you talk about these things, with the jokes and including jokes and those things, so the big and more lively to people. But the way that I used to talk, it's not something is like that. I normally talk not like that. So it may not some you may not like the way it is, that I talk. So anyway, so we don't have much time, so I'm going to stop here.
Ni that's a machonga stila, ni tuada within the Yana, and Sunruchida.
So we have about 15 minutes. So if you have any questions, then we can go through that.
Okay. Thank you.
If you have any questions, you can post it in the chat.
Okay, it seems Christine has a question, so you can unmute yourself. Christine AM.
Okay, can you hear me, Khenpo?
Touch Dele Christian.
About impermanence, I was thinking, is the Dharma impermanent also, and how do we think about that? Thank you.
미탁버디 아니 담배 취해야 미탁버르베스. 디나 먼저 간데 삼당고르베스.
담비체 메타버레스. 담비체 메타버레스. 텔레삼노 칸데스 당고르세나. 당저 담비체세야 돼. 다들 담비체세야 돼. 가지고 그 고사티 니요레스. 찍대 가르레스나 소소게 담비체세야 돼. 가르삼노 당고르세나. 가지고 셈발은 주아똥에 그 담비체sen 라고요레스 다딜라 니요레스 나족 산노라 냠네 제네 소식이 냠토데야 고 론주아도에게 냠토게 차지다 디 아니 고다병에게 나족게 룽크체세야 저와 오타티니 니요레스 디지디 가서 룽크체세야 돼 나족 다치기 남바치를 거야요레 고고요레 이나야 조 단단 가서 담비체세야 돼 나족 샘게 냠네다 아니 냠뇨 디그 토네 가족의 람가세야 계자도 드니시고 티치디 대소데 야야야 곰펜도네 람다 가서 그랬다 총람니 졸랑 통람치면 곰펜도네 내가 손제 공부를 야 저리고야 드니게 계자시고요 티치디 그 담비체데 아니 메다바 마이나 내가 저 담비체 냠내 지야면 차그레스 티치디 담비체데 메다바 인자 내가 저 냠내 공토치 같이 제바되게 아니 가져야 산지 공부 받을야 줘야 길래가 그지야 잘 그랬어.
Yes, Dharma is impermanent too. When we are thinking of Dharma, you have to think of Dharma in two ways. One is the scriptural Dharma that you can study and those you can hear in those things. Those are mostly like in the words or in the spoken words or in the written words. The other Dharma is the Dharma that we practice. In this way, when we practice it, then it makes changes or modifies our mind. And that is when we do our experience, that we feel the experience when you do the practice. So while we're doing the practice, then we have this 5 paths. We first attain the first path, the path of accumulation. Then after practicing on it, then we go to the next path of joining. In this way, the path of seeing, and finally we're able to reach the Buddhahood. So if it's something not impermanent, then if something that's permanent, then we cannot able to change these things, the change for the better or the change for going from first to second to third, and those things. So, and that's where, the Dharma is impermanent, and that way we're able to practice and then, able to go higher and higher and up the ladder until we finally reach the complete enlightenment.
Thank you, Khenpo.
Thank you.
There's one posted here. How do we lessen self-grasping and grasping to the experiences we go through, since we all have the tendency to think about past and future? Danzin je tasosu nganzi ki semde nyungru tayala kandes tangogo yenas. Ane ngonzu takpa kalaora takpa ri ngonzu kare tigyundu ane de maon la samtang de tangba samtang de yores. Dikton takanje sosok danzin de nyungru kandes tangogo yenas ra jinsarda.
다 단지 뉴로 또야라 다 매바 또야데 다 생에데 카데이바 네츠데 뭐히와데레스 당아조 간 당기니 히와나 이래 고 마히바네 동어로 생아조 강하다 노트 초마 간이 용어여서나 네츠 간이바 뭐여 간이바데 마히바 토니 마조 노트 쇼야다 강아요와 차고여레스 디지디 가슬 단지 뉴로 또야라 아니 다 생에데 간디진도네 답시 땅치네 아니 다메바 몬트비기 토네 아니 ko da senis shukyambonzin de yabate nontru imbaji ane soso ke ni ngotrebe ke tone danji nyon cha tang tang res te nyuru tanya la ane ndo deni ke ba ina ane nga da se soso sa no tonde ya na yinji ane ndu mndu ta che che ne ane ta che che ya res.
So the way to lessen the self-grasping is to realize the emptiness of self. So we have this, as I mentioned earlier, that not knowing is the suffering, causes of suffering. So we have to investigate the reality of things. First, to lessen our own self-grasping, self-ego, we have to first investigate about this self, whether this self really exists or not. And then, able to see that, this doesn't exist as we see it or as we think it is there. In that way, we can lessen our self-grasping.
Danji te da meba te todan de la ane nga jo ke uma ke lani chebi ke ane ko ji namdi sing di riba da sanga da namdi sing di riba sanga da da ane ko uma ke yung no la tan mambo chi ke yo res te chi de ka so ko dewa chena ta na nga ron so ke ane sa no ton dewa na yin che ne she ne ma she ke patula ko joa meba ji bu ke ran ji nga yo samde na ji ane sochi ngo ni tai zemo ni ma kamba ke patula tende chindu da mandu yona ngo da komba de laba ne re ne kha khande re do tende sen ta je tong ina ane ngo tha ji ba ji ane no che no he ge re da te zo la ane lob yong ti che ge cha ge res.
And in the Madhyamika text, we have this, 7 reasonings of the chariot to understand or to establish that this self doesn't exist. And also this self, we normally think that something unchangeable, permanent self. So if you try to investigate and find it within your own body, like from the tip of your head or hair or down to the toes, just if you investigate and check where that self resides there, you will not able to find it. In that way, you're able to see that this self doesn't exist, and that will help you to lessen the self-grasping. But to understand this way, it's not too easy. So you have to study more on these subjects, and that will help you to understand the non-existent of the self.
Ngoi. Tene tare ta. No more question. Taba je me insareko. Mena dandela nga to tham ya go marwe.
All right, I think that's it. So we will stop here.
Okay, thank you. Da jok long. Tene da diri nga to del tham ya. Tene soni ni nga to da hira ni bo go zu ya che se ne chu zu dimba. Da chu zu da ma da da chu zu da so chu zu de nga zu zong che go se.
So we'll stop it here for today, and from tomorrow we are going to start the teaching on the Heart Sutra, and the timings will be different people. So, but Eastern Standard Time is 7 p.m. From tomorrow.
Ni hira ni bo de kase ngoma nge ji hie cha res. Da tanda de hia tang ti zi ma da nge ji res. Ne te chi de ka so le hira ni bo se nge de pe ja chen bo re te chi de ka so le ne ko pe gyuru tamba de chu do do chen de ma ni so no le di ga ba chi re te chi de ka so le ne te ko hia tang ma da ton yu cho ba chi res. O de chen de ne te zi ma da ton hia cha yes.
So I've taught this Heart Sutra a few months ago, once already. So this time I'm going to teach it a little different way. Since this Heart Sutra is the condense of the Paramita Sutra, which has 16 volumes, and all the 16 volumes has been condensed into these 2 pages. So there can be different explanations in the different ways. So I will try to explain it a little different from the one that I explained a few months ago.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Khenpo. So good to hear your teachings again.
Now it's okay. Hello. Hello, everyone. So now we are stopping tonight here, and we will be back tomorrow again, same time, 7 p.m. So please join us tomorrow at 7 p.m. So till then, take care and have a good night.